Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. In the previous video, we discussed about the cell injury. In this video, we'll be discussing about the cellular adaptations. So let's get started with the lecture. Okay, so we discussed about the definitions of all those cellular adaptations. Now we're gonna starting with the atrophy. We'll discuss about all those cellular adaptations in much more descriptive form in this video. Okay, so what does atrophy means? Atrophy means the decrease in cellular size as well as cellular number. Okay, so atrophy means decreased cellular size as well as cellular number. Okay, so why does atrophy occur? Question must arise in your mind. Atrophy occur because there are two reasons behind it. Okay, so why does atrophy occur? We have got two reasons. First one is the due to decreased protein synthesis. Okay, if protein is not being synthesized, so that's why cellular size shrinks and atrophy occurs. Okay, first reason is decreased protein synthesis, and the second cause is due to the intracellular protein degradation. Okay, so increased intracellular protein degradation always lead to the atrophy. Second cause is the increased intracellular protein degradation. So we have discussed about the reasons why atrophy occur. Atrophy occur due to the decreased protein synthesis and increased intracellular protein degradation. Okay, so we are clear about it now. Now we are moving to the mechanism of atrophy. Atrophy, the mechanism behind atrophy is made is of two pathways. Okay, we have got ubiquinone proteasome pathway and autophagy, or we can say it autophagy. Okay, so we have got two mechanisms. One is the ubiquinone proteasome pathway. Another one is the autophagy. Okay, so in both of these pathways, the common component is ubiquinone. How? Let's discuss about it. Okay, so in the first pathway, in the former pathway, ubiquinone activates an enzyme known as ligase. Okay, it activates an enzyme known as ligase. This ligase causes the combination of ubiquinone to the target protein, the protein which is gonna be degraded. Okay, this ligase causes the combination of the protein, the target protein with the ubiquinone. Okay, so target protein and ubiquinone complex is formed. Okay, and this complex is taken up by the proteasome. Proteasome is an organelle, and this the complex is taken up and intracellular degradation of target protein occurs. That must be clear to you. The first pathway is ubiquinone and proteasome pathway. So there is also a second pathway, second mechanism involved in the atrophy, which includes autophagy. Why? In autophagy, the ubiquinone combines with the target protein. Okay, the ubiquinone combines with the target protein, and this whole complex is taken up by the double membrane bounded phagosome. Okay, so let's learn it through the diagram. So this is the double membrane bounded phagosome. Okay, and this complex is taken up by this phagosome. Okay, like this you can see it. This phagosome comes out. Okay, so this phagosome takes up this ubiquitin and target protein complex, and this phagosome is then surrounded by the lysosome, okay, forming a complex known as phagolysosome. Lysosome releases its enzyme and causes the degradation of intracellular proteins. Okay, so we have got two mechanisms which causes the atrophy, which includes ubiquinone proteasome pathway. Second one is the autophagy. In both pathways, ubiquinone is the common. Okay. In the first pathway, in the former pathway, ubiquinone causes the activation of enzyme known as the ligase, and this ligase causes the combination of ubiquinone to the target protein, and this protein, this complex, is taken up by the proteasome, and this complex is degraded within the proteasome. Okay, and the second pathway is the autophagy. In this autophagy, ubiquinone combines with the target protein and taken up by the double membrane bounded phagosome, and this phagosome is surrounded by the lysosome, forming the complex known as phagolysosome, and intracellular degradation of target protein occurs. So we have got two mechanisms which causes atrophy. Now coming to the types of atrophy. Atrophy is of two types. It could be physiological as well as pathological. When does physiological atrophy occur? It occurs in the thyroglossal duct, in the notochord during intra-embryonic life. Okay, it also occurs in the thymus. Okay, as age progresses, thymus undergo atrophy. So that's why the size of thymus decreases. It starts shrinking. So it occurs in the thymus. It also occurs in the uterus after the pregnancy, after birth. Okay, so we have got the fifth example as well. It also occurs in the reproductive organs. In male, it occurs due to the decreased testosterone synthesis as age progresses, and in the female, after menopause, it occurs due to the hormonal changes. Okay, so it also occurs in the reproductive organs. So we have discussed about the physiological atrophy. Now we are going to be discussing about the pathological atrophy. Okay. So when does pathological atrophy occur? It occurs due to the denervation in the polio. Okay. In polio patient, it occurs due to the denervation. This atrophy is known as denervation atrophy. Okay. Due to the denervation. Denervation atrophy. Okay. And after fracture, it also occurs in the patient after fractures. Okay, so due to fracture, due to the prolonged bed rest. Okay, due to prolonged bed rest. So we have discussed about the two examples of pathological atrophy. It occurs in the due to the denervation in polio disease, also occur due to the fracture due to prolonged bed rest, and also occur in the patient with the Alzheimer and or Parkinson disease. Okay, Alzheimer disease as well as in patient with Parkinson's disease. And the fourth example is it also occur in the cancer cachexia. Okay, it also occur in the cancer cachexia. So far we have discussed about the atrophy. Okay, we discussed about the definition of atrophy. Atrophy means decreased cellular size as well as cellular number. Why does it occur? It occurs due to the two reasons: due to the decreased protein synthesis or increased intracellular protein degradation. We have got two mechanisms behind atrophy. It includes ubiquinone proteasome pathway. Second one is the autophagy. In both pathways, the ubiquinone is the common factor. In the first pathway, ubiquinone activates an enzyme known as ligase. This ligase causes the combination of ubiquinone to the target protein, and this target protein and ubiquinone complex is taken up by the proteasome and intracellular degradation occur. The second pathway is the autophagy. In this autophagy, ubiquinone combines with the target protein and taken up by the double membrane phagosome. And this phagosome is surrounded by the lysosome, causes the degradation of intracellular protein. We have got two types of atrophy, which includes physiological atrophy, pathological atrophy. Physiological atrophy occur in the thioglossal duct, also in the notochord, in the thymic tissue as age progresses, also occur in the uterus after parturition, and in the reproductive organs, in the male due to the decreased testosterone secretion, and in the female due to the hormonal changes after menopause. And in the and pathological atrophy includes denervation atrophy, which occurs in the polio disease, the patient with the polio disease, also due to the fracture due to prolonged bed rest, and in the patient with the Alzheimer as well as Parkinson diseases, and also occur in the cancer cachexia. Okay, so now we'll be discussing about the hypertrophy in much more explanatory form. Okay. Hypertrophy means increased cellular size. Okay, so we should also write it. Hypertrophy means increase in cellular size only. Okay, so question must arise is why does hypertrophy occur? Okay, so we have got one reason behind it. Hypertrophy occur because of increased structural protein synthesis. Okay, so structural protein is being synthesized more, that's why hypertrophy occurs. Increased structural protein synthesis. Okay, so this is the mechanism behind hypertrophy. Okay, so there is no other mechanism involved in the hypertrophy. Okay, this is only the mechanism by which hypertrophy occurs. So let's talk about the types of hypertrophy. Hypertrophy could be physiological as well as pathological. Okay, hypertrophy could be physiological as well as pathological. So when does physiological hypertrophy occur and when does pathological hypertrophy occurs? So let's discuss about it. Physiological hypertrophy occur in the athletes. Okay, so skeletal muscles of athletes. So physiological hypertrophy occurs in the skeletal muscles of athletes due to weightlifting. Skeletal muscles of athletes due to weightlifting. It also occurs in the heart of athletes due to increased workload. Okay, occurs in the heart of athletes due to increased workload. Okay, this must be clear to you. And the third example is it occurs in the pregnant uterus. Okay, pregnant uterus undergoes both atrophy or both hypertrophy as well as hyperplasia. So you must keep this point in your mind. This point is worth remembering. It occurs in the pregnant uterus. Okay, so now let's discuss. Pathological atrophy occur in the prostate gland. Prostate gland. Okay, in the heart, in the cardiac muscles due to hypertension. Okay, so when there is a systematic hypertension, it increases the workload on heart, which causes the hypertrophy of left ventricle. So left ventricular hypertrophy due to hypertension, and it's also occur due to the aortic wall dysfunctioning. Okay, also occur due to the aortic wall dysfunctioning. So till now we have discussed about the atrophy as well as hypertrophy. We discussed about atrophy. Now we have discussed about the hypertrophy. Why does this hypertrophy occur? Hypertrophy occur due to the increased structural protein synthesis. Hypertrophy could be physiological as well as pathological. Physiological hypertrophy occurs in the skeletal muscles of athlete due to the weightlifting. Also occur in the heart of athletes due to the increased workload. Occurs in the pregnant uterus. So pregnant uterus undergoes both hypertrophy as well as hyperplasia. So this point must be clear to you. Pathological hypertrophy occurs in the prostate gland, also in the left ventricle due to the hypertension, and it also occurs due to the aortic wall dysfunction.